Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast today, this audio podcast synopsis, this audio podcast synopsis in on an audio podcast an audio podcast series in on a audio podcast series as part of the Haemotoxy, the Bostics and Barrage. And sorry, the Bostics and Baraga. This audio podcast a series a synopsis as part of the Express and Caliber, and this audio podcast as part of the Specials and the Storm Robotics production. And through this audio podcast series and this in on this audio podcast series, a sort of a look at excuse me, a sort of a look at in on some works by by a science student M Hussain as M Hussain as part where the science student from a particular academic institution within the United Kingdom or UK, and the audio podcast series it looks at will look at in around the investigation of tuberculosis, tuberculosis and diagnoses, the tuberculosis diagnoses, and where M. Hussain investigates through the use of the use of and the investigating through the basis of some basic laboratory staining investigations, such as hemotoxin and eosin, hemotoxylin and eosin, and additionally quinine carbol fusion staining in as part of investigating tuberculosis in as part of and to determine a diagnosis in on as part of this as part of this audio podcast and series. So the audio podcast series will look into elements of microbiology, elements of histopathology, and look at some bases in identifying tuberculosis with histopathological investigations or histopathological staining investigations, and with interlinking with microbiological investigations, and additionally, there'll be a look at some aspects of methodology, and investigating in context of determining tuberculosis in amongst the patient case that that science student M Hussain investigates or looks or delves into, and then excuse me, then a look at a basis in around the histopathological procedures, or procedure in around tissue processing, which is mainly sort of a basis in around histopathology, laboratory laboratory investigations, and where histopathology investigations meet or link to, for example, additionally into cytology, aspects of cytology, and then M. Hussain, the science student, looks into looks into sort of offering a basis of a discussion and conclusion in context of this sort of patient case in context of tuberculosis, and there is some basis in around hematology and immunology in on as part of this, and as part of some of the discussion and conclusion elements of this works by M. Hussain. So there'll be some discussion, and there'll be some concluding aspects in and around where M. Hussain where M. Hussain informs of some of the bases of the diagnoses of M. tuberculosis in amongst the patient case they were investigating. As always, in on this audio podcast, much like other audio podcast series on the Storm Robotics production, there will be some citations and references where listeners and audience can check out can look to check out some further works by authors or investigators who have published who have published in on some aspects of M. tuberculosis, and in on some aspects of the investigatory procedures, laboratory investigatory procedures in on M. tuberculosis for further understanding. So there will be some citations and references in as part of this audio podcast series, as is the case, or the basis of audio podcasts under Storm Robotics production. So that draws this synopsis to a close. This synopsis as part of the Haemotoxy. This audio podcast as part of Bostics and Baraga. This audio podcast series. This audio podcast synopsis. This audio podcast synopsis as part of the Express and Caliber. This audio podcast the synopsis as part of the specials. This audio podcast synopsis as part of a Storm Robotics production.